Hello, friends in YouTube land. This is Josh, and I am just getting this live ready. If you've not seen me on TikTok before, it takes a few minutes for people to show up, and the reason it's shaking a little is because tapping up the likes. That's why that happens. Let me get everything all ready here. Hi, sir. Hi, Will. Hi, Dustin. Hi, Q. Hi, Nozick. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict for 24 years. I was also an alcoholic for 22 years. That's right. I was a porn addict 24 years. I was a alcoholic 22 years, and I have now been 11 years sober. I have also been relapse-free the entire 11 years. About 8 years ago, I got into this area of work. Hold on, just fixing my tripod here. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to start over because that was not going well because I still feel like I'm slanted here. What is going on? Okay. All right. I think we're good. Let me try that again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict for 24 years. I was also, along with being a porn addict for 24 years, I was also an alcoholic for 22 years. I am now clean and sober for 11 years, and that includes being relapse-free the entire time. I now work full-time as a pornography addiction coach, as a betrayal trauma coach, and as a disclosure specialist. That means that I help the porn addict, I help the partner who may be dealing with the trauma of finding out, and I help relationships as a whole, mainly in the areas of communication and trust. I've been doing this for 5 years now. I've seen over 600 clients. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please go ahead and toss them in there. I'm happy to answer anything that I can. I'm happy to give an opinion if you need me to. All right. Hey, man, how are you? Hi, Reese. I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for asking. I bought this for freedom of others, beliefs should align with scientific. Hey, I bought this before you keep going. Your first 3 didn't show up, so I don't even know what this list is. You wrote something in your first 3 that did not. It got censored, so I don't know what this list is for. So if you can refigure that out, I'd appreciate that. Hey, Cool. Thanks for liking the live, and much like Cool is liking the live, I'd appreciate it if those of you who are here would tap up the likes on this, would share this, would follow me if you're not. This helps very early in the live. We're only in the first 5 minutes. This lets the algorithm know people are paying attention, people are liking this. You may not have a pornography problem. You may not have a betrayal trauma problem, but about 80% of my clients I meet through TikTok, and they need to see this. We have to get it in front of their eyes. The taps are the best way to do it. I don't get a dime off them. We're just trying to get more people to learn about this. All right. So thank you very much. Hey, Zach from Charlotte, North Carolina. I was just there last month. Asking says, hi, I struggle with this. Now I just watch a bit and then I put it down, and pardon my language, I use my imagination. That's fine, but whether you're looking or using your imagination, it doesn't matter. One of them is not healthier than the other. That is because whether it's your imagination or whether it's your eyes, it's your brain that processes the imagery. So one of those is not healthier than the other. You're still creating the same amount of chemicals in your brain. And if you're an addict, that means you're creating 4 times the amount of chemicals you should be creating in your brain. If you think that using your imagination is healthier than looking at photos or looking at videos, unfortunately, that's not the case. BCAS01 says, I'm addicted to everything. I'm going to guess that's not true, but if you have patterns where you become very compulsive with things, where you become very obsessive with things, you probably need to deal with that. I would certainly get some help if you feel like everything you touch you become addicted to. Zach asks, how was your day so far? My day is doing just fine. It's Sunday, so I don't have sessions on Sunday with people. I get a lot of my other work done. So it's a little bit, I can focus longer terms on other work, aside from just having sessions. Edgar FX, thank you for following me. Quit by not looking at it anymore. Yeah, Kevin, for a lot of people, it's not that easy. What have I ate today? I am on my second Celsius, and that's it so far. Hi, Courtlandia. Am I a Mormon? No. It's the first time I've ever been asked that. I've been asked Christian and all kinds of other things. Nobody's ever asked me if I'm a Mormon. I am not, but you know what's interesting is that I would bet of my clients, whether they're a male or a female porn addict, and whether they're a male or a female betrayal trauma sufferer, I bet I have more Mormons than any other religion out there. Day 4 for Truca. Hey, I remember you. Congratulations. Keep doing it. You can get through it. You can get through this. If you can do day 1, day 2, and do day 3, you can do day 4. And you know what the prize is for doing day 4? You get to try day 5. It's kind of like a little gift every day. You get to increase your success. Edgar FX, how are ya? How did you quit PH? Pornhub? Are you asking how I quit porn? I finally just sucked it up, and I got the help for it that I needed from people who could help me. I started doing research. I started, putting my ego down. I started to understand it goes deeper than just looking at the stuff. There were reasons you become an addict, and I had to finally work with those and not pretend they weren't there. Hello to everybody who's here. My name's Josh. I was a porn addict 24 years. I was an alcoholic 22 years. I have been clean and sober now for 11 years. That includes being relapse-free. I have written 4 books about this stuff, and I also used to work as a presenter and a lecturer. I now am a full-time coach. I deal with the areas of pornography addiction, betrayal trauma, and I also have some certification as a disclosure specialist for couples. So I help couples, I help addicts, I help their partners. If I can help you at all, please just let me know. Got any good sleep lately? I actually already took a nap today. I woke up early, like 7:30 in the morning, and then took a nap around 11. So yeah, that was my last sleep. It was great. Thanks for asking. Karl Marx, hi Guru. I'm off for months and months, but I am not healed so far. Please help. Should I test with... I don't know what you're asking to test. I mean, you should never test with porn. But let's ask. You're off for months and months, but you're not healed. What does that mean? Why do you say you were not healed? What is still happening? That's important to know. Kevin says, betrayal trauma, I think I suffer from that by being naive in what people tell me, and they end up lying about things at the end. Yeah, and that's the thing is that I don't want people to think the only people who suffer from betrayal trauma are the partners of porn addicts. Children suffer from betrayal trauma all the time. That's one of the original first traumas that a lot of kids feel. That their parents, their teachers, their friends, the world promises things and doesn't deliver. So how can you trust? Yeah, betrayal trauma, it can be, you can get betrayal trauma from your boss. You can get betrayal, there are a lot of Trump supporters who are feeling betrayal trauma now because his policies are hurting them. Betrayal trauma comes in 1,001 shapes and sizes. Hey, Oth, nice to see you. Hope you had a good morning. There was some study, I'm pretty sure, that proved Mormons can pretty accurately identify other Mormons just by seeing someone. Not that anything has to do with it. You know what? I wonder if it's is it the collar today? Because when I'm dressed in like a nicer shirt, not a concert t-shirt, that usually means it's laundry day. Not that I'm trying to look fancy for you. Hey, just want to mention all of you out there, if any of you think you could benefit from some one-on-one coaching in the areas of pornography, addiction, betrayal, trauma, or if you're part of a couple that needs to work on your communication and trust, you can learn about my sessions by going to my front page, click on the link tree, and there is an option there to book a session with me. I cost usually about a third of what a real therapist costs. You can be booked with me as early as tomorrow if you're interested. Let's go back to the comments. Karl Marx says, I'm still new. N-U. I don't know what that means, dude. Recess, what's the weather like there? Is it hot outside to sit out and relax? No, right now it's 45 degrees and raining. It's not a nice day here. Belen Solis, thank you for following me. Avi Noel, thank you for following me. Appreciate that you're here. I am still numb and desensitized and cannot perform as a man. Okay, so you're off of the porn, which is great. But have you done anything to figure out, to work on why you became a porn addict? Or have you just been starving yourself? Because the thing is, recovery is not just stopping the behavior. Recovery is learning to stop the behavior, but more importantly, going back and figuring out, why did you become an addict? And what did that addiction do to your life? How did it shape your attitudes and beliefs? And how do you want to shun those? How do you need to shun those? And what do you want to be moving forward? That's recovery. If you're just not using, that's called starving yourself. That's called fasting. What you need to do is recognize that the most important question is not how do I quit porn? It's why did I begin porn? It's how did I get to be the man or woman I am today? So, Carl, I would say while you may be starving yourself of the porn, your mind will heal physically, but the stuff that caused you to be a porn addict, the stuff that's making you desensitized, that may not have to do with looking at the porn on a physical level. That may have to do with looking at the porn on a mental level. Marcos, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you happen to be in the world, or good evening even. Always hard, but mental, not in the mood, it's just there. Always hard, but mental, not in the mood, it's just there. I work out and play games to distract. That's great. Distraction is a huge, huge thing. Distraction is huge because in the moment, those urges, those triggers, that's not really, the nuts and bolts of the addiction, which lives back here. That momentary urge, that momentary need, that's all the frontal lobe stuff. And you need to be able to distract yourself. That's one of the little things. It's not going to help you in the long run. But if you're looking for a distraction, go on to the App Store or Google Play and find yourself some multiplication game geared towards 10-year-olds who are just learning their times tables. How many of your multiplication tables can you do in 3 minutes? I don't know, and that sure doesn't sound fun. But for 3 minutes, you're going to be thinking about something else. When I was just starting to recover on Facebook, I found a typing test. So I would take that typing test whenever I got an urge because it drew my attention 100% away from it. Berna, thank you for following me. How do I stop, bro? I can't stop. Oth gave you the answer right there. Oth gave you why do you think you can't stop? What makes you so special? What is it about your makeup as a human being that means you can't stop? I could stop, and I stopped alcohol and porn at the same time. After 24 years of being an alcoholic, after 24 years of being a porn addict, 22 years of being an alcoholic. What is it about the goat that makes you so special you can't quit? Or is it just easier to say you can't quit? Because if you can't quit, you don't even have to try, right? I can't fly, so I'm not going to climb to the tallest tree and jump out of it. I know I can't do it. And if you know you can't recover from porn, you don't have to. You don't have to. So start telling yourself a more accurate story. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people have recovered from pornography addiction at this point. Why are you so special from those men and women? From many countries, many political beliefs, many ages, many ethnicities. Why are you so special? Louisy, however you want to call it, Wheezy. Do you ever think back on the wasted time? I used to a lot more. Now I feel like it wasn't wasted time. It was necessary time to get me to where I am today. When I am sitting with a client and they are telling me, I've been to 3 therapists and I can already tell in one session, I'm going to be back to talk to you. You're different. You know what I'm talking about. I had to be an addict to be a certain kind of coach. I had to be a journalist to be a certain kind of coach. I had to get myself into very rough situations to be a certain kind of coach. I had to be a father and a husband who sucked at it to be a certain kind of coach. I have to now be a good father and a good husband to be a certain kind of coach. I don't look at it as wasted time. I look at it as time that delivered me here. While I may have had different goals in life than I achieved early on, from what 18-year-old Josh wanted to be, and addiction absolutely sidetracked that. I am happy where I am today. I'm good with where I am today. I'm proud of myself today. And while it was a hellacious first 40 years to get here, I'm okay with who I am. So I don't look at it as wasted time anymore. I've said that before, but I do believe that's the first step and the must is the second. Man, you and I are going to have to arm wrestle over this. If you tell yourself you can't, you won't. And I guess you're correct. I guess if it's how do I quit? When someone asks, how do I quit? They've already reached that point of believing they can. Now they want to research it. Gentil. Not going to lie, I've already started stopping little by little. Okay, so you're weaning down. Do you have an actual plan? Or are you just saying, well, I used 10 times this week. I used, 11 times the week before. And I used to use 20 times a week, so I'm doing good. And I hope to be done by the end of 2028. All I would say is that weaning can work. It works with most people. Just have it on a real plan. Have a strategy, not just, I'm going to slow down. Because really, it's about learning to deal with your urges and triggers in different ways. And if you are allowing yourself to give into your urges and triggers, that's not teaching you anything. And don't forget to go and figure out why you got this way in the first place. You need to believe, you definitely need to believe you can stop first. Otherwise, why even try if it's not possible? And that's why I said it's on a completely objective level, you can quit because everybody else who has quit did it. It's just a matter of if you want to enough. Are you willing to make the sacrifices? Are you willing to make the correct choices, the healthy choices? But there shouldn't be any question if you can, actually recover. That answer is yes, you can. It's just a matter of if you want to, if you're willing to do the work. People want recovery to be a 15-minute process. you know, plan on it minimum being a 15-month process. Jackson Moran, thank you for Moran. Thank you for sharing the live. I appreciate that. Truca says, you look back and regret until you harness it as a valuable experience. Exactly. And that's one of the things that I tell a lot of my younger clients who are 20, 22, 24. There is going to be stuff that happens in your life now that seems to make no sense, and you may not understand it for 10 or 20 years. That's what a lot of my recovery process has done. And I'll tell a really quick story. I have told this story to a lot of my clients, and this is about understanding that I broke up with my longest-term girlfriend before I ended up meeting my wife. I was with for about 2.5 years. I thought that there was a chance we would get married. I thought there's a chance we would stay together. Things weren't great at the end of those 2.5 years, but, relationships go up and down, and we seem to get along well. But ultimately, she broke up with me, and I found out shortly after she broke up with me that she was cheating on me. With a guy she worked with. She was a college student at the time. I was a young journalist, and she worked as a bartender at a popular watering hole, and she cheated on me with a bouncer there. It left me floored. I had never had a real breakup like that. Totally blew my mind away. So let's fast forward now 25 years. I am married to the most wonderful woman. I have 2 kids. These kids would not be who they are. These kids would not be alive if we hadn't broken up, if I hadn't met my wife. They just wouldn't exist. And that would be a shame because my kids are pretty freaking cool. And my ex, well, it turned out she married that bouncer. They've been married for 20 years. They're perfectly happy. They've got a couple kids. That happened for a real reason. And it didn't make sense to me at the time, but if she had not, for a real reason. And it didn't make sense to me at the time, but if she had not cheated, if she had not walked away from the relationship, I wouldn't be sitting here today. So while it hurt in the moment, while it didn't make sense in the moment, I get it now. And I'm okay with it. It's not trauma anymore. It makes sense. Beardy Bites, Blurdy Bites. Thank you for following me. You too, AG23. Genty says, I distract myself with games and going out a lot. Perfect. That's perfect. As long as it's distracting you and you're not hurting anybody else, it works for me. Addiction says you don't get pleasure. Without this, I won't have nothing type thing. Okay. I'm an HR late to work because I'm an hour late to work because of corn. You couldn't type hour. It's only 2 more letters. I'm an hour late to work because of corn. There's a big problem. That's a huge problem. If you want to pay your bills, if you want to pay for the frickin' internet access you're getting, you need to make money. How are you going to eat? How are you going to enjoy that ceiling if you don't make money? But the pull to, and the pornography will be there after work. The pornography is there 24/7. It doesn't go away because you're at work. You can pause it. You can bookmark it. But you are so overtaken by the porn that it's causing you to be late to work. That's going to cause you to lose your job. That's going to cause a whole bunch of other ripple effects. And you're certainly not going to tell anybody, well, I lost my job because I was always late because I was looking at porn. So you're going to be hiding that. There's probably going to be shame involved. This is a bright red flag for you, John. It's not just a bright red flag. It's one of those flags that flies at a car dealership that's obnoxiously large. Red flag. Raya Sharifi. I hear cutting cold turkey is generally the most effective, but what I change along with that? Honestly, Raya, I cannot say that cold turkey or ramping down, weaning, is more effective. It depends who you are. It depends who you are and what you know. The most important thing is that you get there. You know, that you have a real plan to get there. Many of my clients who have porn addictions, we try cold turkey, they can't do it. So then we say, okay, you're going to do it this many times this week, this many times the next week, or it's okay to do it that many times. But you can't do it one more than that. If that works, great. If saying stop now, don't touch it, if that works, great. But either way, the most important part is the mental health stuff of why you became an addict. What was that trauma? How do you deal with that? You need to deal with that so you don't have the urges, so you don't have the triggers, because you're not addicted to pictures. You're not addicted to these videos. You're addicted to the chemical release that using them gives you. If something else gave you that release, you wouldn't be looking at this amount of porn. But you found, probably in childhood, probably between the ages of 10 and 13, that looking at this kind of stuff made you feel really good. Touching yourself while you looked at this kind of stuff made you feel really good. But you didn't realize it made you feel good in a way that it was different than the other people. And so it became your coping mechanism. That's what happened. Oth says, I don't know, I think there truly are people who believe that they are the exception, that they started too early, they have too much trauma, or far too gone. I can't stop, just seems to be a common sentiment I see here. Yeah, absolutely, Oth, but I think what they're trying to get out of us, especially if they're a first timer here, is, oh, okay, you can't stop? Well, okay, keep going. Or they're looking for someone to do what we do and say, you know what, you're wrong. You're wrong. I think that's part of our job here, is to say you're wrong. To explain how everybody can do it. I worked at a call center 20 years ago now. Hey, Rachel, good to see you. Thank you for the rose. I worked at a call center about 20 years ago. We sold a product for parents who had kids that were very defiant, very misbehaving. A lot of the people who called, especially the more conservative men who were listening on conservative radio, when they called, you could tell right away they didn't call to find out how this can work. They called to find something disqualifying. How much does this cost? Well, don't you want to know what it does? No, what's the bottom line? So, I don't know. How much would you pay to have a healthy, well-behaved child? Well, is this just me giving them a pill or something? No. You learn some different parenting techniques. How long is this going to take me? Okay, well, if you don't want this to work, I've just given you a bunch of reasons, a bunch of things you need to know, and you're giving me a bunch of reasons why you can't do it. So now you know you can't do it. Congratulations, move on, and let us work with people who aren't just trying to disqualify themselves. I think there's a bunch of different people here for a bunch of different reasons that way. Daydreamers, PIED reversible, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. But you can't look at porn and you can't masturbate. Those are rules 1 and 2, and they're not negotiable. Mind your business. Thank you for sharing the live. Hey, British Patriot. It was a blessing in disguise because I started writing a book to distract, and now it's stopping. That is awesome. You know what you're doing? You're getting dopamine from writing. You're getting serotonin and oxytocin from writing. You're excited about this project. This is fulfilling you. This is how you're dealing with the world. And if you don't mind me asking, British, what's the book about? Louise, I've been getting out of this addiction since 2020. Excellent. I'm way better now, but I just can't help but think of all the lost experiences I never had and feel like I can't do anything with what's left of my life. Well, how old are you? You know, I'm looking at that picture of you there. You don't look like an 85-year-old man. You got plenty of your life left. Think about what if you would have waited another 10 years to get better? What if you would have been saying here, I've been getting my way out of this addiction since 2030. You started. It's getting better. You can't change what happened. You don't have a time machine. And if you don't have a time machine, then don't worry about the past because you can't do anything about it. It's good to understand it, to make informed decisions, but take the past as a lesson and make the future even better. So do you have tips to stop? I am struggling. I have all kinds of tips to stop. Be around people. Be around people. You aren't going to look. You aren't going to touch if you're around people. Go hang out with your roommates or your family or your friends. Go to the mall. Go to the park. Go to a diner. Be around people. Engage with people. Did you know that you get a burst of melatonin simply by walking by somebody, smiling at them, and them smiling at you? It's been proven. Smiling at people actually makes you feel better. Is it going to make you stop using porn? No. But the other thing is, Shane, if you're struggling, maybe what you need is not a tip to stop. Maybe what you need is some work to figure out why you got here in the first place. I can tell you based on my own recovery that once I understood my addiction, once I understood the trauma that it grew out of, and I dealt with that trauma, I didn't need the porn. It's like medicine. You use the porn because it soothes you. It's your coping mechanism. But when you fix the problem and you develop some healthy coping mechanisms, you don't have to use the porn. You don't want to use the porn. Develop some healthy coping mechanisms, you don't have to use the porn. You don't want to use the porn. You know, that's the thing. I've been 11 years without porn. I've been 11 years without alcohol. Was it hard in the beginning? Yeah, it was certainly a lot harder than it is now because now I don't feel it. It's not part of my life. It's like saying to me, you know, is it hard to not drive race cars? No. Is it hard to not play the trombone? No. I'm just not interested. But it took work to get there. Esads, thank you for sharing the live. Once again, Rach, thank you for the rose. What's the best way to stop? The best way to stop, number one, is to know that you can. Off. The best way to stop is to know that you can. The next thing you have to do is develop your motivation if you're really serious. Why must you stop? And don't give me the reason you've been trying and failing, because that's clearly not working. What do you stand to lose if you can continue to use pornography? How does your pornography use stand to change your life? We had a person in here earlier who said that they are late to work by an hour because they're at home using porn. They may lose their job because of pornography. You know, that's how far it reaches. What is your reason to quit? That's what you have to really start with. Politics, interesting. Is that fiction or nonfiction? I'm 27. Oh my God, Louise. I didn't even start quitting till I was 37. I didn't even start quitting till I was 37. I have worked with men and women who haven't started quitting until their 40s. You've got nothing but time, dude. How old were you when you started? You know, let's say 12. I don't know. Let's say you were 12 when you started. That's 15 years. So you pretty much had 15 years, you know, in the beginning. Let's say you've used half your life, okay? That'll just make it easy. You've used half your life at this point. but you probably still have a minimum of 55 to 60 years on Earth. So if you didn't use for 10 years and you've got another 50 years, that's going to be 60 years that you didn't use and 17 that you did. That's less than, that's a sliver of your life. You're 27 and trying to say that your life is over? No, you wasted time? Dude, everybody in their 20s looks back, in their late 20s, looks back on their early 20s and their teens and think they wasted time. For one reason or another. That's because most of us who get to our late 20s or 30 aren't exactly where we want to be yet. So we point to things that caused wasted time. You can still do whatever the hell you want with your life. 100%. And you know what? If you're 5 years older than everybody in college, if you're 5 years older than everybody in that entry-level business program, if you're 5 years older than all the first-year policemen or first-year firefighters or school teachers, who cares? You're only 27, dude. You have such a long life ahead of you. What do you do when you're single? Same thing you do if you're in a couple. If you're addicted, you try to quit the addiction. You try to understand the addiction. Pornography addiction doesn't have to do whether you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or you have a husband or a wife. If you talk to real porn addicts with partners, their partner has nothing to do with it. They're still using. They may stop, for a short time because they're getting the chemicals from the thrill of a new relationship. They're getting the chemicals from the thrill of a new sex partner. But that disappears in a hurry. And then they go back to the pornography and to using it the way that they have for years and years. So this isn't all that different if you're an addict and you're single or you're coupled with somebody. Because it's not about being horny. It's not about the nakedness. It's not about the, body parts. It's not about the masturbation. It's about getting those chemicals activated in your head so you can cope with everything in the world that you don't know how to cope with. Are you using because you're horny, or are you using because you're an addict? Hey. Just don't trademark it off, and I have to pay you every time I say it. I've gone cold turkey now, deleted all accounts and stored media. Good for you. Good for you. What else are you doing? Because you're going to get urges. You're going to get triggers. What are you doing? What's step 2? It's always a good idea to listen to me. I'm always right. Well, you sound like someone who is perfect to be a wife, Oth. Is it bad I watch once a week? You have to decide that, Isthmus. Is it going to cause health issues? Probably not. Probably not. But I don't want to say no. If you need to watch once a week, sounds like a routine. Sounds like a pattern. Can you cut that pattern out? And it's very easy for one time a week to become 2. And then that means you're doing it over 100 times a year. So be careful. Bad is subjective. Is it unhealthy you watch once a week? Probably. So be careful. Bad is subjective. Is it unhealthy you watch once a week? Probably is not going to be super detrimental to you. But be very careful. I started when I was 12, 35 now. Congratulations on the 23 years. You're almost where I got to be. Don't try to break the record. I'm glad that you are addressing it, Daydreamer. And obviously, if I can be any help to you or anybody else in here who's dealing with porn addiction, who's dealing with betrayal trauma, or is part of a couple that needs work in the areas of communication and trust, I'm happy to help you. All you have to do is visit the front page of my profile, click on the link tree, and the second option there is all about my coaching. And I will also mention, if you're in Gen Z, if you were born between 97 and 2007, I am conducting a survey right now for a presentation I'm delivering at a conference in Tennessee in June. If you were born between 97 and 2007, I'd appreciate it if you'd go to my front page, click on the link tree, and then take that survey in the first option. Thank you very much. And let's go back to this. Blurty Bites says, young men, I'm nearly 40 going back for my master's. You have time. I love that, Blurty. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for sharing that. And the thing is, you're nearly 40. So you are probably within 3 or 4 years at the halfway point of your life, statistically speaking. You're only at the halfway point. It probably feels like it's been a hell of a long ride to this point. Well, you're only halfway there. Got to do something the rest of your life. I'm on day 2. I think I quit officially. You're on day 2 and you think you quit. Okay. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. But don't put the cart before the horse. I hope you're right. And the reality is, everybody who does quit does have a day 2. Amula. I like that name. How do you know if you're addicted? Is it okay to watch every now and then? Well, Amula, what I would suggest you do is to go to the front page of my profile. Up top, where there are the pinned videos, one of them is called The 11 Symptoms of Porn Addiction. And if you click on that video and watch it, it's 2 or 3 minutes long. Count along as I list the symptoms, and then you'll know at the end if you have an issue. Easy peasy. JG, thank you for following me very much. C. Shelley, how are you? What should you do when you get urges? You should be prepared. Right now, while you're not having an urge. Right now, while you're not triggered. Get a pen. Get a piece of paper. Sit down and write things down that you can do when you get an urge. Get away from your device. Don't be alone. Do something that's going to occupy your mind. These 3 things are your best defenses, but you must be prepared. What if there is nobody around? What are you going to do? What if you're into outdoor activities, but you're getting an urge and it's horrible weather outside? What can you do indoors? Do you have names of 5 people you can call at any moment just to say hi? You don't even have to say, hey, I'm having an urge towards porn. There's so much that you can do. There's so much that you can do. I promise. You're doing the right thing, Coach. Thank you. I'm trying to tell these young guys how bad corn is. Well, you know what? I think when you talk to young guys, I truly believe that in every sex education class that boys have, usually 5th, 6th grade, at least here in America, I think that PIED should be talked about. If you tell 10, 11, 12-year-old boys about porn-induced erectile dysfunction, I bet you see statistics drop 5%. Even being in a relationship isn't a guarantee that you'll get any. Just ask my husband. That's funny. That's very, very funny. What am I drinking, Amula? I'm drinking Celsius energy drink. If anybody here works for Celsius, knows the Celsius people, I would love a sponsorship because it's one of my major food groups. Please keep tapping up the likes. Please keep tapping up the likes. That's how we get new people in here. That's how we people who may need some of this help in porn addiction, in betrayal trauma. Maybe they're part of a relationship that needs help. This is how people learn about me and get their help and change their lives. I wish I had tons of money to advertise, but I don't. I try to keep my prices very low for people. The most annoying thing on LinkedIn is I get 5 to 10 messages every day. Hey, we can turn you into a 6-figure high-ticket coach. And okay, you know, I've talked with a couple of these. What do you do? Well, you dump all your clients and you get 5 clients who are each willing to pay $2,000 a month. I don't want only 5 clients. I don't want to only help 5 people. I'd rather make, you know, $3,000 a month and help 100 people. And yeah, that's where the money grubbers of the world and me go different directions. Hey, Haley, is it possible for the excess corn addict to change? Yeah. Yeah, hi, you're talking to one. You're talking to one. You're talking to one right here. I have seen so many people change. I have helped so many people change. I have sat next to people in my own recovery and watched them change. I know it's absolutely possible. 100%. Starting to get windy outside. Nate Broderick, 52 weeks in a year, not 100 times. Yes, Nate, but what we said was if you use twice a week, that's going to be 100 times in a year. Cam Shop Finds, would you rather me gamble or watch corn? I don't really have a preference, but thank you for asking. I think probably for your own health, you'd want to take care of both of those. Much like when it came time for me to quit, I quit both porn and alcohol. But if what you're saying is I have to do one or the other, well, you don't. You don't. That's the story that you are telling yourself. Hey, Carolyn, thank you for being here. My husband and I started marriage counseling due to the court issue. I think he's still in denial. Corn, not court. Okay. I was like, well, I don't know your court issue. Corn issue. Okay. I think he's still in denial. He probably is. He probably hasn't had it explained to him in a certain way that it clicks. Or he hasn't had it explained to him by the right person so it clicks. You need the right messenger. You need the right message. If he is shut off to getting that message, you need to try to get it to him a different way. And then at some point, if he will never get the message, you have to ask yourself a different set of questions. But if the marriage counseling isn't working, I would say that it's a waste of time. And you went to marriage counseling because of porn? Have you asked the marriage counselor about their work with addicts? Have you asked them about their work with people who have sexual disorders? Because most marriage counselors, most relationship therapists that I know and I've met don't have the proper training. In fact, there are so many marriage counselors and relationship counselors that I have heard horror stories from my own clients, especially, when I see a couple that, we went to a marriage counselor and they just said more sex. You need to have more sex. Maybe he'll stop using porn if you have more sex. It's like, that is never going to be the solution, ever. But they're not qualified to understand that. Much like I'm not qualified to sit with a couple and be like, okay, let's talk about budget issues. Let's talk about parenting. That's not my area, so I'm not going to claim I'm a relationship coach that can help with that. Hey, Sai, thanks for sharing the live. How to tell if you're addicted versus normal urges. Front page of the profile, there is a video pinned to the top that says the 11 symptoms of corn addiction. If you go and you take that, you go listen to that video, count along with the symptoms that I talk about. At the end, I tell you what the score means. So that's the best way for you to do it, Alexander, because you know what your symptoms are. Where do you find said people and what's the reason they couldn't enter your clientele now? I don't understand. What do you mean? What did I just say? Maybe I said something that didn't make sense. Where do you find said people and what's the reason they couldn't enter your clientele now? I don't understand. I don't understand either, Oth. So help me help you. How do I change? Well, you take off your clothes and then you put on new ones. You change by first wanting it, and then you change by needing it and doing what it takes. If you want to know what's the magic sentence, if you want to know what's the magic bullet, well, there isn't one. If you want to go to a therapist or a coach and you're waiting for them to say, here are the 3 rules to changing, you're never going to hear that. Everybody is different. What needs to happen is you need to figure how you got to this point that you want change. What caused you to get to this point of unhappiness? What caused you to get to this point of not being satisfied? In whatever the reason is. You have to analyze it, and then you have to make changes. How do you make changes? By just doing different things. Haley, thank you for following me. How many minutes at 1,000 watts? I have no idea what that means. Thank you for following me, SMS King. Appreciate that. Hi, Clips. Nice to see you, as always. The people willing to pay you $2,000, like it's just that easy. No, you know what? And the thing is, it's once you land a couple of those clients who run in certain circles, then it's all referral. You know, if I could go out and, live in Malibu, California, and once I land 2 or 3 high-ticket clients, it gets around fast that I'm the guy to see. That kind of thing. And probably about, at this point, I would say probably about 20% of my clients are referral. It's 80% TikTok, 20% referral, or maybe 79% TikTok, 19% referral, and 2% other things. But those are the 2 places. But yeah, the idea of working with only 5 people in a month, I don't like that. And exactly, how long is it going to take me to land those people? Thank you, says Plinky. You're welcome, says me. Flip with Nick, for the corn. For the corn. How many minutes at 1,000 watts for the... Oh, you're being funny, Nick. I see what you're saying. You're being funny. You're doing a joke where corn doesn't mean porn. It actually means the vegetable. Wow. I never thought of that. That's funny. You got to change your habits. Yeah, absolutely. You got to change everything. You got to change your mindset. It's not just changing your habits. It's about changing your mindset. It's about changing your lifestyle. It's about changing your life. It's not that, your life is perfect and if you could just scoop out this porn addiction and toss it away, everything would be perfect. Because if you scoop the porn addiction and toss it away, you've got no coping mechanisms. You're going to have to do some more work. Who would have thought? Yeah. Would have thought, yeah. Does the corn coach watch corn? No, the corn coach does not watch corn anymore. The corn coach stopped watching corn back in 2014. Because that's when he got sober. Yes, Nick, I see the satisfaction with which understanding your joke has given you. I'm glad that I could bring that little bit of sunshine to the day. TikTok won't let me say anything. Yeah, well, that's why we have other apps that if TikTok ever goes away, we'll deal with. And until then, we're under this Chinese regime that's going to dictate our language on their app. Hey, Anna, just dropping by to show support. My ex had a problem and it was a huge negative. Did you leave that ex because of the pornography issue? And how long did it take you to get to that point? Just curious. If you want to share, if you're already gone, thank you for dropping by to show support. Support is always appreciated. And I'd appreciate it if you guys would tap up the likes. Tappity tap, 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 tap. Tap up those likes. That's what gets us into the FYP. That's what gets us into the suggested live pages. More people, I get a lot of statistics at the end of these lives. The average person who does a live, when it pops up on their FYP, there's a 4% rate of clicking through to the actual room. With my views, I can see exactly how many people stop and watch, and I can see how many people actually click through. It's only 1% because people are scared of this issue. So please, tappity tap, 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 please continue with the conversation. There are people sitting on their FYP right now deciding whether they want to get in here. If they see more people, if they see more conversation, if they see that this is a safe, welcoming place, we can get more people in here. Let's do that. I wouldn't have thought referrals. Yeah, and you know what's funny is that... I don't think anybody's here from it, but there is a church in the greater Las Vegas region where I have seen 4 members, 4 couples from their congregation. Word got out. I was the guy. I'd really helped one couple a lot. Pretty much, I don't want to, say how awesome I am, but I pretty much saved their marriage. And they started sharing me with other people, sharing my name with other people. Who started to see me. And some, like, always didn't last more than a session or 2. Some am like them, I'm still seeing to this day. Yeah, no, absolutely referrals. And a lot of other people, I've seen a friend or 2 of theirs. Hey, how are you? Thank you for your help. No problem, Lion. Glad you're here. Good to see you. Well, that's awesome that people are opening up. Thought this would be a suffer in silence kind of thing for most. And it is, but one of the things that when I talk to, or when we get further along in the recovery with a lot of my clients, one of the things we talk about is, now that you're doing okay, now that you've got this under control, now that you're recovering, how is this going to be part of your story? Because this did happen, you did ring. How is this going to be part of your story? Because this did happen, you did have this. And if you live in shame of it, isn't that just as bad as things were before? You're in shame of using porn, now you're in shame that you used to use porn. Who can you let know that you had this issue, then you're doing okay? How can this become part of your personal narrative? That's one of the things I regularly talk about with both my male and my female porn addict clients. Right now, I'm talking with one who I'm really trying to get her to tell her brother, who is her best friend in the world, that she had some issues. She's, doing so much better, but she had issues with this stuff. But she comes from a family that is super, super closed off. And I think except for her best friend, her husband, and me, I don't think anybody else knows. And so it's just another secret. And as the saying goes, in AA, you are as sick as your secrets. So, yeah, this needs to be something that's talked about more. I don't remember what her name was, but the female addict who was here last, something that's talked about more. I don't remember what her name was, but the female addict who was here last night, God bless her for sharing that story. Nobody on my husband's, thank you for sharing the live, person with way too many lines in their name. Nobody on my husband's side is aware, was thinking I wanted to mention it in our renewal vows. It's incredibly isolating for both partners. Yes, renewal vows, wow. I've got so many one-liners, but I will, in the for the grace of your renewal vows, I will not put them there. I also think it's truly up to him to decide. It's not, You can push him to tell them. You can offer him options. You can offer him ideas. But I really think that should fall on his shoulders, how it's done. You know, you can say, maybe you can say in the vows, I have seen you grow as a man from, you know, you have grown into a man from an addict boy that I met. And then his family could be like, what was he addicted to? And then you can go that way. I don't know. But yeah, you can't hide it. I mean, that's one of the things that I've never hidden a ton in my life. I mean, I certainly do hide a few things. But I was a newspaper journalist who was a columnist and wrote editorials and wrote opinion pieces and wrote first-person pieces for a long time. So I'm used to writing about myself. I'm used to talking about myself. So that's what makes this a little bit easy. I've never had trouble standing in front of a crowd and talking. In 2013, I actually gave the commencement address to my old high school class. And that was in front of 4,000 people. So I've never had problems, you know, talking in front of anybody. I've never had problems communicating about myself, but a lot of people do. I'm sure it's probably more embarrassing for my parents or my wife or my kids that I'm so open about this stuff. They probably wish that, you know, I wasn't that corn coach. They probably wish that their dad or their son, you know, didn't have over 100,000 people following them. I don't know exactly, but yeah, it's. I think the healthiest thing is to be open about it and to own it, because that is the truth. And I try to live my life with as much truth as possible. Even if I don't advertise the entire story, I try to live with my life with as much truth as I can. And that is important to do. Ren says, hey, Ren, God, I wish I had no fear of talking in front of people. Well, I'll tell you, Ren, it's tougher for me to talk in front of 20 people than 200. It's tougher to me to talk in front of 200 than 2,000. The more people there are, the more they just blend together. I will tell you that my secret, and I learned this when I was young, I think I learned this in 4th grade, giving a book report. Find 2 people to talk to, or 3 people to talk to, who are enjoying your speech, like you're having a one-on-one conversation with them. Make sure one is here, make sure one is here, make sure one is here. The rest is noise. You're having 3 conversations with 3 people who are attentive, who are nodding, who are smiling, who are paying attention, who are giving you the feedback you want. Now, I've seen the video of me giving the commencement address. There are people getting up out of their seats, walking around, going to the bathroom, eating popcorn. There were kids talking to each other who are graduating, not paying any attention to me. But I found 3 kids who seemed to enjoy what I was saying, and I gave my speech to them. They laughed, they smiled, they enjoyed it. That's what was important. I found those people. And the rest was just noise. The rest was just decoration. I had 3 conversations, and that's all. That's right. That corn coach / Mr. Public Speaker. Luis says, you're as sick as your secrets. Yes, I didn't make that up. That's a motto, slogan in Alcoholics Anonymous. Does that mean that I have to tell everyone what I'm going through? No, it doesn't mean that. But if someone walks up to you and says, were you ever addicted to porn? You shouldn't say no. It doesn't mean you have to walk into a room and be like, hi there, porn addict. Hi there, alcoholic. Hi there. When I was 18, I stole a car and I did 6 months in jail. No, of course not. Of course not. I am getting very, 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 very tired. I am getting very, 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 very sleepy. But we will keep soldiering through. I will do this for probably another 15 to 20 minutes. Great advice. Thank you. Spam poster. Thank you for following me. Interesting take about the secrets. I like that. I've had many addictions in my life. Yeah, no, I have too. I mean, work was an addiction, and I can go back and look at myself going back to 12, 13 years old, and I learned when I was about 12, 13 that baseball cards were could potentially be valuable. And I had a couple thousand of them, but when I learned they could be valuable, when I learned this could be like stocks for a 12-year-old, I started going crazy with them. I wanted to have the most. I wanted to have valuable ones. Fast forward 2 years later, I've got over 100,000 baseball cards. When I got the Super Nintendo and I started playing Zelda, damn it, I wasn't going to do anything else until I beat the game. That's the only game I ever played. Because I recognized, I think even at 14 years old, I don't want to be a video game guy who plays 10 hours a day. I have always been obsessive with things. I look at my work life. People say you can't work 100 hours a week. Yeah, sure you can. Not healthy, but you can. You're right. Almost everything can become an addiction. Become an obsession, become the thing that you focus in on so much that the noise of the rest of your life disappears. Multiplayer games are the worst. Why do you say that, Ice Cube? I'm curious. I don't play games. I miss the video game revolution. I stopped when the malls stopped having arcades. That's when I stopped playing video games. But if anybody is ever in Vegas, go visit the Pinball Hall of Fame. That's a cool trip back. But why? Yeah, why? Ren says, so it's more like replacing it with healthy habits. Yeah, if you're going to be an addict to something good. I think that there may be some being addicted to this job for me. This job gives me dopamine. This job gives me serotonin. I'm spending 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon talking to people about pornography. I don't have to do that. I'm choosing to. Is that a healthy thing? I don't know. In some ways, yes. Maybe in some ways, not. But most of the attributes we have that we think are negative actually aren't negative. Most of the attributes we have that are good are not actually good. What we have is we have the capacity or the ability to go to extremes. How can you use those extremes for the positive? That's what the question is. How? That's what the question is. How can you use your addiction mind for good in the world instead of bad? That's kind of, to me, because they are more addicting than story games. Yes, why is what I'm asking. Not life is a multiplayer game. I like that, Ren. I like that. Life is a multiplayer game. You'll never be there when I do it, but I'm totally stealing that from you. Ice Cube, because you need to put in a certain amount of hours, and it's not fun because everybody else plays a lot. So it's kind of a FOMO thing. You need to play because everybody else is playing. ASMR uploaded. I'm bored. No, you're not. You're here right now. And if you don't want to be here, go do something you want to do. Go for a walk. Go to the mall. Go buy a kite making kit. Make the kite and then fly it. Go watch a movie you've always wanted to watch. One of the reasons I'm doing this afternoon is because I think I'm going to go finally see Sinners tonight. And here's the thing. There's a movie called Sinners out there. I have no idea about the sexual content. I have no idea about anything about that. I just have had many people tell me, you got to see that movie. There's a couple people I know I've been to see that movie twice. I have no effing clue any of the plot. I've looked up nothing. I've seen no trailer. But I'm not worried because I know I'm not going to get triggered by it because of where I am these days. How old is bed? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you could look up Wikipedia and, history of mattresses. Is it a rule that if cool is in your name, you can only speak in gibberish? Yeah, I think so. How old do you think bed is? Can bed just be any place you actually lay down that you make as a specific area for a bed? What is a bed? Does it have to be a mattress? He denies it up and down. Well, what are you doing about that? I'd say about 3, at least 2. Okay, bed is about 86 years old. Okay, thank you, Ren. It's funny, you get a question, how old is this, has nothing to do with the room, but someone asks how old is bed. It turns out we have a bed historian here who knows that it's 86. God, it's like visiting a museum coming into these chats. I brought the VR headset to work for a good goon session. The lady boss caught me. What to do? Yeah. If you're trying to get yourself banned from here forever, you're doing a good job. I don't believe what you're saying one bit. And if you really don't know what you should do, there's probably a lot more going on than a porn addiction. Ice Cube, truly one of my favorite West Coast rappers. I know I'm addicted to corn, but I feel it's harder to accept you're addicted to video games. Well, you feel it's harder you're addicted, and that's fine. It was hard for me to accept I was addicted to porn because I'd never really been introduced to the concept. But I knew you could be addicted to alcohol. I'm going to sneeze. Okay. A lot of people don't like the word addict. A lot of people don't like the term addicted. Okay. A lot of people think one addiction is worse than another. Maybe for them it is. Everybody's got a different story, but the question is, what is this behavior doing to your life? And are you willing to take the steps to change it? That's really what this is about. I would just prefer it be like less. That is so not concrete, Ren. You need a concrete boundary. Okay, I will do this 2% less. You need a concrete boundary. I want you to be nicer. I want you to spend more time with me. You need some concrete boundaries to explain this. Bless you, says Lion. Lion. Why do I say Lion? Maybe because it's Zong. Lion, Zong. Thank you for blessing me. I need all I can get. Kevin Anderson, thank you for following me. Please keep tapping up the likes. Please keep tapping up the likes. Tappity tap, tap, tap. Would appreciate that. If you're not following me, follow me. Share the live if you're enjoying this. If you yourself could benefit from a session with me, whether you're the addict, whether you're a partner of an addict, or whether you're in a couple and you need some help with communication and trust, I can help you with those things. Visit the front page of my profile, click on the link tree. We need more coaching advisors like you. A lot of people have this addiction ever since the dawn of the internet. Well, and it really is not just the dawn of the internet, it's the dawn of high-speed internet. That was really the FU to the sexual health of the world. It's daily for him, but like once a month is fine. No, Ren, it's not. He's an addict. 0 is fine. He doesn't have the mind you have. Maybe, Ren, you can look at porn and masturbate once a month to it and it's no problem. You know, there are plenty of people who can have 1 or 2 drinks and it's no problem. I'm not one of those guys. I wish I was, but I'm not. So I can't drink at all. I can't have a beer once a month. I can't look at porn once a month. It will blow out of control. But here's the thing. I was in Vegas last month. I was in Vegas last year. I really like Vegas. I never spend more than $100 gambling over 3, 4, 5 days, whatever I'm there. I don't have the gambling addict gene. Just don't. Don't like to waste money, and the more money I waste, the less I want to play. Why am I not a gambling addict? I don't know. I can gamble once, twice, 3 times a month probably and never have an issue. But I can't even do the porn or the alcohol once. So if you want to help him, the goal has to be abstinence from porn. It doesn't mean abstinence from sex, abstinence from sexuality. In fact, he needs to develop more healthy sexuality. But you can't give in to your addiction once a month and think that it's okay. That's a relapse, and you don't want relapses. You live tonight? I don't know, cool. It depends when I go see the movie Sinners. Depends how I'm feeling. Probably not, I would guess. Probably not. I know I need to stop, but how? Well, I have a lot of videos there. You could always book a session with me and we could begin to talk about it. You know, you're going to need to stop the behavior and you're going to need to understand how the behavior got there. And then you're going to have to make massive changes. But to start out, here's what I want you to do for the next week, Ice Cube. I want you to keep what's called the Urge Journal. This can work for all of you. With the Urge Journal, anytime in the next week that you get an urge or you get a trigger, I want you to write it down. Just buy a little notepad, you know, one of those little flip notepads you can get at the grocery store for, 75 cents, and have a pen and that pad on you. Anytime you get an urge, whether you do end up using or not, and hopefully you don't, you need to write down a few things. Number 1, what time is it when that urge happened? Number 2, where are you when that urge happened? And number 3, what happened in the last 10, 15 minutes? If it's something you recognize, like I woke up or my boss yelled at me, that caused you to feel differently, write that down. If you don't know what it is, just write down what's happening. Like I am driving down the street and you don't know that you saw anything, but write down what you're doing. Most of my clients who have done this, they have between 5 and 20 urges a day. Now, let's say you have 10 that you write down. At the end of the week, you're going to have 70 pieces of data to look at. You're going to see patterns. You're going to see routines that you may not recognize you have. And then the first thing you can do is start changing those routines. If you linger in bed in the morning on weekends, and that ends up leading to looking at porn and masturbating, and you don't really recognize this until you see it on paper, well, then you know weekend mornings, you got to get out of bed right away. You got to change that routine. Out of bed right away. You got to change that routine. Any amount over none will inevitably snowball. Yeah, exactly. That's why I will not do it. I think that I could probably drink for a year, maybe 2. I think I could drink like a gentleman, so they say. I could have 1 or 2. I could control myself for a while. But then, in a year, when 2 just isn't doing it that day, when I feel like I have that 3rd, I start to feel drunk. I have that 4th. Then the next time I have 3, and then I'm right back to where I was. So I don't want to start the process, and one will start that process. Ren says I'm most definitely an addict myself. Well, okay. What are you addicted to? Don Corleone. I know it was you, Fredo. Corn is like a psychological weapon. It's meant to destroy our minds, turn us into lustful creeps. I think you're giving it way more power than it deserves. Corn is a business like any other that is designed to make money, and like many of the ways that people in this world make money, it's not healthy for the end user. You can't tell me people who make deep fried onion rings think that this is healthy food, because it's not. People who, make cigarettes, you can't tell me they think they're making a healthy product. They're not. But they're doing it for money. Nobody made cigarettes to, we got to give everybody cancer. That's how we're going to control the world. Cancer. Lung cancer specifically. So we have enough issues with porn, with education, without giving conspiracy theory stories to it. Yeah, it's a horrible thing. Some people can say it's evil, but I don't think it was developed as a psychological weapon. He won't admit it's a problem. I absolutely hate gambling too. It's fun when you win right away, but yeah, it's push a button. Hey, I got to pay $1 to push a button, and I saw some pictures, and now I have nothing. Yay. I feel like it's leading to more extreme stuff. I saw him looking up escorts in our area. Okay, let's talk about that. It does lead to that. It's addiction. Addiction escalates. Like, I was a drinker. When I started drinking at 14 years old, 2 beers, I could feel it. By the end of that year, I think I was needing 4. By the end of high school, I was needing 6 beers. I needed a 6-pack to feel anything. By the time I was actually at legal drinking age, I needed a case. By the time I was 30, I couldn't drink beer anymore because it didn't get me drunk. I had to move on to bigger things. Same thing as gambling, which we were just talking about. Someone who bets $15 on a hand of blackjack, well, that's not exciting enough after a while, so it becomes 30 or 50 or 100. And it's not that we're chasing a bigger high, we're chasing the same high we've always chased. It's just that the old amount doesn't do it. And when you start to look towards the world of pornography, I started on Playboy magazine. A woman standing there, a woman laying there. That's where I started, and then escalated up over the years. We've got 11-year-old kids now starting on hardcore sex. Where do they have to escalate to? Because we know escalation comes with this. That's what's very scary to me. Is if escalation is a property of addiction, which it absolutely is right across the board. Everybody remembers growing up, marijuana is a gateway drug. Yeah, it does lead to other things for a lot of people. So, how do you get off when the regular stuff doesn't work? You move on to more extreme stuff. It's just a function of being an addict. You don't even really care. When you're an addict, and I say this from being an addict, from being in recovery with people, and from working with hundreds of people over the last 5 years that I've been coaching. People at the end of their addiction, people in the critical phase of their addiction, they don't care what they're looking at. They don't remember 5 minutes later what they're looking at. All they want is something that's going to do the trick. I've literally had multiple people, men and women, say to me, if I could just push a button and get my dopamine, I would. I wouldn't even bother with any of the porn. I don't care about it. I don't want to watch it. But that's the only way I can get it. Like somebody who's an alcoholic. They need the feeling of the alcohol in them to function. They're not doing it for taste. They're not doing it because it's a good time, a cocktail life of the party. They're drinking bottom shelf liquor at 4 in the morning from a jug in their fridge because they've got a horrible problem that's become very extreme. That's where addiction goes. Extreme, extreme, extreme. Now, let's move on to the escorts part of this. That is a place that some guys do go with this addiction. Some guys have to go into places like cam chats. Some guys have to go into places like OnlyFans, where they can have some interaction with the model. Some guys need to start doing things like looking up escorts, looking up those pages where you can get into, swingers pages and, weird sexual liaison pages. A lot of guys will just look at where you can get into, swingers pages and, weird sexual liaison pages. A lot of guys will just look at those. They'll never act on it, but it makes them, excited to think that just outside their doors, there's this world of sexual weirdness that they watch on their, phone. World of sexual weirdness that they watch on their, phone, and it's happening outside, and they just want to know a little bit about it. But they would be scared to death to ever do anything like that. And then, unfortunately, there are some guys who do end up going all that way. I would say probably 10% of the guys who I deal with have at one time or another utilized the services of an escort. Because their addiction just gets so far and they don't know how they're going to get dopamine and all that. So, yeah. Obviously, it's escalating. It's leading to extreme stuff, and it's escalating. Where's it going to go if he doesn't stop? Who knows? And that's why I say I'm scared, because these kids today are starting with the porn that they're looking at, that they're starting with, is like the stuff I was looking at halfway into my addiction because I had access to it. You get a Playboy magazine, you're not seeing that much graphic stuff. You're seeing naked people. You go on to, the internet, you're seeing a lot more. I can't get a girlfriend because of my corn addiction. Well, then why don't you do something to quit the corn so you can get a girlfriend? If you want a girl that much, you're going to have to quit the porn, I guess. Cause and effect. I look at porn, I don't have a girlfriend. So if you want one, the mathematical formula there is pretty straightforward. Tin Man, thank you for following me. Oh, you're brilliant. I don't know if you're talking to me or Oth, but yeah, we both are. They ban corn in Texas, where I'm at. I don't think they do. I think what they do is they require an age certification to use it. And while the senators who passed those laws, who are in their 60s or 70s, who don't even understand how the internet works, I'm sure there's no problem for any 15-year-old boy in Texas to get his hands on pornography through the internet. Want a Sprite cranberry? Nope. But I appreciate you following me. Thank you for your candor. You're welcome, Haley. Thank you for being here and being part of the conversation. I appreciate that. Addiction goes hand in hand with escalation. I know what that emoji means. Yeah, I understand it really, but shit. Macassie, AI, follow the live creator to feel... Ren, is that you and your PFP? Is your picture called PFP? Is that what that is? Is that called the PFP? I've never heard of that. And apparently it is you in your PFP, because you know what that means too, and I'm the only one who doesn't. How do you get certification in corn addiction? There are several organizations out there, some of them tied to specific therapists, some of them tied to specific organizations, some of them tied to how therapists also get it. It really depends, and I see you say UK. I don't know in the UK how you do it. But in the US, depending on what state you're in, you can have different options. Like, one of the reasons I did not become a therapist is because in the state I live in, there is no CSAT designation. So I wouldn't be able to be a certified sex addiction therapist because it doesn't exist. If I became a therapist in my state, I would not be able to advertise myself as a therapist in any other state. Now, I have clients all over the world. I have clients in 8 time zones, maybe 7 right now, but I have clients in 7 or 8 time zones. I have to legally be a coach for that. I can't say I'm a therapist because I don't have a license of a therapist, and even if I did, where I live, it wouldn't apply elsewhere. So honestly, if I were you, I would look up coach certification corn addiction UK if you are in the UK. I mean, I would go right to Google and start there. And if you don't find anything there, I'm more than willing to help you find an online program that can certify you. I got certified online for betrayal trauma because the pandemic had started. So the organization, the Post-Betrayal Trauma Institute in New York, that certified me in betrayal trauma, it was all online. That's where I recognized that telehealth is the best way to do this. But yeah, if you want to contact me, if you need help finding someone who can certify you, if that's what you're asking about, I'm happy to help you. There are groups out there. But I also want to say something, that a certification is only as good as the coach. It's a piece of paper, just like a diploma, just like a newspaper, just like an eviction notice, just like a birthday card. It's a piece of paper. I think the most important thing when it comes to healing, when it comes to mental health, is that you have a connection with the person you're working with, that you feel safe, that you feel like you are being heard, that you feel like you're being respected. To me, that's far more important of whether, they have a doctorate or they didn't finish 3rd grade. If they can help you, they can help you. To me, that's the most important thing. And I saw so many different kinds of helpers along the way that I stopped caring really about their pedigree, and I started to care about what they could do for me. Because that's what the important thing was. Profile picture, PFP, profile picture, as if it were 3 words. Fascinating. But you don't want to say pee-pee, because we know what pee-pee means. PowerPoint. Great job. You've gone 90 minutes. Don't forget to take a break. Of course not. Of course not. I'm actually going to take a break here soon. Actually, I'm going to take a break now. Been doing this, like I said, for 90 minutes, so we've been here long enough. I think we've all drank from the cup of knowledge enough. Want to thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you need any one-on-one help, even if it's just a one-time, 1-hour thing, to talk about where you are currently, or if it's something you want to get into a regular line of this, hit me up, visit the front page of my profile, click on the link tree. It was great seeing all of you. Thank you, Ren. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Lion. Thank you, all of the rest of you who are here very much. Obviously, Oth deserves the #1 most thanks. She probably does more heavy lifting than I do here. What am I saying? Probably. She does more heavy lifting than I do here. So from my side, thank you, Oth. Thank you, Oth. Good seeing all of you. I'm sure we'll probably end up doing one of these tomorrow. Not sure about tonight. Probably not. But you all have yourself a good rest of your weekend, or if you're entering your work week in a couple hours, I hope that works out for you too. Have a great one. Bye now.